Vishnupada Sutta Srimad Bhaktivedanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityadeva Pradeshta Om Vishnupada Sutta Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityadeva Pradeshta Om Vishnupada Sutta Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityadeva Pradeshta Sacharit Srila Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityadeva Pradeshta Paramahansa Srila Gokashodas Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityadeva Pradeshta Sachidananda Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Nityadeva Pradeshta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Gauri Vedanta Charya Srila Bhamdev Vijayabhushan Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Sanatana Bhakti Raghunath Srila Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Sridhar Roy Ramananda Sri Gopal Sri Guru Ki Jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Sri Adhiti Mai Purshi Matiji Bhaktivati Bhakti Gaurati Bhakti Tanaji Bhakti Jamati Bhakti Bhakti Sri Bhakti Tam Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Kopagopi Kagoranam Radhasri Namaka Sri Raj Mandala Ki Jai. Sri Shamakan Radhakan Yunir Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Yogamaya Purnamasi Ki Jai. Kapishwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sri Sanchakriti Ki Jai. Sri Purushottam Chaitra Ki Jai. Sri Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Sri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhaktiraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Amrita Bhakti Vaishnava Ki Jai. So, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shrijudaha Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sanjeevam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namane Gaura tise namah. Nityanandam namastubhyam premananda pradayane Kalo kalamashanashaya janavapataye namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Brindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishto Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Asto Tarashata, Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Astatarasata, Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Astatarasata, Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And then I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So we covered the purport yesterday of Prahlad's first statement to his father. Can you remember what advice he told to his father?
To go to the forest.
Yeah. Why? He explained why in the verse.
Using the dirt well with materialistic householder life.
Not just him. He's saying anyone who has taken a material body. Yes, dehina. He's not saying, my dear father, you should do this. My dear king of the demons, you should do this. But he has mentioned the category of persons that should do this. Dehina. Dehina means anyone that's taken a material body and sada samudvigna diya, and are always in great anxiety. Sada, always. Samudvigna diya. Their intelligence is always in such anxiety. Why? Because asad grahat. What does that mean? Remember we talked about the so-called Sadguru and Asat. Asad grahat means what?
Temporary.
Accepting. Grahat means to accept. The what? The Asad? Yeah, that was his temporary, which is not real. But they're accepting it as real. They've accepted. This is my body, these are my friends, these are my family members, and so forth. Hitvatma patam. The thing is that it is a place where the Atma becomes patam. Let me see what the adjective is here. Yeah, well, it doesn't say for just the word patam, but Atma patam means the place where spiritual culture or self-realization is stopped. Atma patam. And what is that place? Griham anda kupam. Meaning? Yeah, griham. And anda means dark, and kupam? Well, exactly. So he says, here's the instruction what should be done. Hitvatma patam griham anda kupam. One should give this up. One should completely give this up. This dark well that one has fallen into, and the place where the soul will be killed. And then one should do what? Now, your suggestion.
Go to the forest.
Yes, it says here, Vanam Gato. Gato means to go. Vanam Gato. Go to the forest. And do what in the forest? Harim Ashrayeta.
Take shelter.
Take full shelter of Hari. Okay? So, that verse is packed full of very deep instructions. It is a very complete verse. It's worthy of our memorization and committing to our memory as one of our chief verses. It's the first one spoken by Prahlad. Okay, so anyway, we've read this, what happened after that, how when Prahlad spoke about the path of self-realization and devotional service, thus being faithful to the camp of his father's enemies. Who is the enemy of Hiranyakashipu?
Vishnu.
Why?
He killed his brother.
Yes, he killed his brother. Okay? And not only that, but he's also very upset that Vishnu is always favoring the demigods. That came up in the previous chapters. So Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, heard Prahlad's words, and he laughingly said, "Thus is the intelligence of children spoiled by the words of the enemy." Now, him mentioning the enemy was something that Prahlad Maharaj was not familiar with. And that is being explained later. So, Hiranyakashipu, being a demon, he would always consider Lord Vishnu and his devotee to be his enemies. This is what demons consider, right? That's why they're demons. This is why they're in the category of demons, of asuras, the opposite of the suras. Because why? They consider who to be their enemy? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. This is a demon. That's why I pointed it out yesterday, that this so-called Sadguru character is a demon. He's actually a demon. He's probably a Mayavadi when it really comes down to it. I haven't listened to his stuff very much, but absolutely no mention of God. And he prides himself in being outside of any tradition. This is what they do when they come. They try to self-effulgent, self-manifest. Okay? But he's a demon. He's not teaching anyone any ABC whatsoever of spiritual life, and just intellectual play and games and all of this, showing off, that's why the rabbi and him, they got along, because the rabbis, they're always into intellectual this and that, So, Hiranyakashipu, being a demon, he would always consider Lord Vishnu and his devotees to be his enemies. And therefore the word parapaksha, on the side of the enemy, is used here. He said, oh, he's on the enemy's side. So Hiranyakashipu never agreed with the words of Vishnu or Krishna. Rather, he was angered by the intelligence of a Vaishnava. Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. What's the meaning? All other dharmas, Sarva Dharman. Yeah, give up all other dharmas. And do what?
And surrender unto it.
Yes. Mam Ekam Sharanam. So, give up all other duties and surrender unto me. But the demons like Hiranyakashipu never agree to do this. That's the nature of the demon. They'll never agree to surrender to the Supreme. And they themselves want to become the Supreme. They're so full of false ego, absolutely false, because they actually have imagined themselves to be the Supreme. So they're not going to surrender. This is the nature of demons. You can tell a devotee or a pious person that they're inclined toward, they do not have this false ego, that they're powerful and supreme. They have some humility. They understand, I better pray to the Supreme Lord, whatever their conception of God is. They submit. But the demons never submit. So, and therefore Prabhupada is quoting the verse of Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 15, the very famous verse. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya apahrita jnana asurim bhavam ashrita. What's the meaning of this verse?
4 kinds of categories of people never take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The lowest of mankind, those who knowledge is stolen by illusion.
Turn it on. First of all is mudha, then naradhama, then mayaya aparita jnana. Mayaya gives you the clue. Yeah. Those whose knowledge has been stolen by what?
Maya.
By Maya. Yeah. Even though they present themselves as very knowledgeable, they're very good at that. Showing off their intellectual exploits. But they're pretending. Because actually, they don't have any knowledge. It's been stolen away. That's the category that Srila Prabhupada often would call the scientists that he would battle against and so forth, with their big PhDs and this and that. But in actuality, they're fools. Because Maya has stolen real knowledge from them. So, apahrita jnana, knowledge stolen. And then going deeper in the direction of demoniac nature, the final one is called what? Asura bhavam ashrita. Instead of taking ashraya of Hari, as Prahlad Maharaj has recommended in that verse, right? Go to Vana, go to Vanam Yad Harim Ashrayeta, and take shelter of Hari. They take shelter of what? Asura bhav. Asura bhav. The demoniac bhav, the demoniac nature. They fully embrace it with full enthusiasm. So, Prabhupada is saying that the Asura bhav, the atheistic nature, is directly represented by Hiranyakashipu. He's the representation of that. Hiranyakashipu naturally became increasingly angry that his son Prahlad was being influenced by the camp of the enemies. And he therefore asked that saintly persons like Narada not be allowed within the residential quarters of his son, for otherwise Prahlad would be further spoiled by Vaishnava instructions. So, the demons, they gave audience to such a personality, Narada Muni. We know that. He could go to Kamsa, he could go to Ravana, he could, right? But here he's giving a ban. He's banning. Don't allow them. Don't allow them to come within the perimeter of the palace. These enemies, disguised. They're all disguised. Infiltration. Huh? Yes. So then the next verse says, Hiranyakashipu advised his assistants, "My dear demons, give complete protection to this boy at the Gurukula where he is instructed, so that his intelligence will not be further influenced by Vaishnavas who may go there in disguise." So on the day when we read that, we read the interesting purport of Prabhupada's. We're talking about how the Vaishnavas may become disguised. So when Hiranyakashipu's servants brought the boy Prahlad back to the Gurukula, then the priests of the demons, Shanda and Amarka, they pacified him. And with very mild voices and affectionate words, they inquired from him as follows. "Oh, dear son Prahlad, all peace and good fortune to you." See, this is what demons always do. They try to act as if they're your well-wisher and your friend. Isn't that true? That's what's going on right now on a massive scale. Massive deception and convincing everyone, "Oh, this is good for you. To go take the jab. This is good for you. You know? Oh, we're even going to give you a lottery." Now they're giving a lottery. That you are entered into a lottery. And every single week there's going to be, 30 people that win $50,000. So you could win that. So take the jab. Huh? We're your friend. That's what's going on. And every single other thing is all lies and deception, but always covered by the smiling face. So that's demons. They have no truth. There's no truth in them, Krishna says in that 16th chapter. Yes. So, kindly do not speak lies, Prahlad. Just reply with the truth. These boys these boys you see here, they're not like you, Prahlad. These other boys. They're not like you, for they do not speak in a deviant way. How have you learned these instructions? How has your intelligence been spoiled in this way? So now they're trying to get the information, right? Because it's been obvious that he has been turned in the direction of Vishnu. Now they're trying to find out what happened, right? So Prahlad Maharaj was still a boy, and therefore his teachers thought that if they pacified the little boy, then he would immediately speak the truth, revealing the secret of how the Vaishnavas came there to teach him lessons in devotional service. It was surprising, of course, that in the same school, the other boys of the Daityas were not polluted. Only Prahlad Maharaj was supposedly polluted by the instructions of the Vaishnavas. The main duty of his teachers was to inquire who those Vaishnavas were that came to teach Prahlad and spoil his intelligence. So now they say, "Oh, best of your family, Prahlad, has this pollution of your intelligence been brought about by you or by the enemies? We are all your teachers and we are very eager to hear about this. Please tell us the truth." So Prahlad Maharaj's teachers, they were astonished that a small boy could speak such exalted Vaishnava philosophy. And therefore they inquired about the Vaishnavas who stealthily taught it to him. And in order that these Vaishnavas might be arrested and killed in the presence of Prahlad's father, Hiranyakashipu. So that's what the demons do. When they detect the enemy, they kill the enemy. Kill, 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 kill. That's all they do. Is they just kill and kill more people and kill anyone who opposes them, anyone who's in their way, Isn't that what it says in the demoniac chapter? So much is mine today. Right? He says, Ishwaroham aham bogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. Krishna himself is speaking as a demon. He says, yeah, so much is mine today, so much I've acquired, and it will increase in the future more and more according to my schemes. That person over there, he's my enemy, but I have killed him. My other enemy will also be killed. So anybody that's in their way, kill, 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 kill. And he says, I am perfect, powerful, and happy. Remember that one? I am Siddha, perfect. Siddhoham. And Ishwaroham means I am the controller. I am Ishvara. And Siddha, I am perfect. Balavan, I am very powerful. Sukhi, I'm happy. I am happy. Right? There is none so powerful and happy as I am. So I will make some sacrifice. I will give some charity. Why are they doing that? To make everybody like them. To make everybody think they're very nice. They're very generous, you know. So, and thus I shall rejoice. I'll make some sacrifice, I'll give some charity, and then I'll rejoice. I've done it. I've conquered. Yes, so now Prahlad, in reply to the probing questions of his teachers, he simply said, he said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. I offer my Nama to Bhagavan. Let me offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by deluding the intelligence of men. So he's recognizing this is all a false impression. Friend, enemy. It's created by what? The illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. In order to delude the intelligence of the population. So indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I had previously heard of it from authoritative sources. So now, Prabhupada is quoting the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, 18th verse. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastani Shuni Chaiva Swapake Cha. You know the last line. Pandita Samadarshina. Pandita Samadarshina. What's the meaning? Pandita Samadarshina. Who? Yes. Yes, Pandit. Here's the word Pandit. A learned person. Pandita Samadarshana. He sees, darshan, sama means equally. He sees equally. Who does he see? Yes. And how does he see it? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. By dint of true vidya, by dint of possessing true vidya, true knowledge, then he looks everywhere, he sees with equal vision, first of all, Brahmane, learned and gentle Brahman, Gavi, cow, Hastini, elephant, Shuni, Shuni means a dog, and Shvapaka means dog eater. So just imagine, complete opposites. Brahman, who's very in mode of goodness, very learned, and cow, also in mode of goodness, and elephant, but then dog and dog eater. He sees them with completely equal vision. So Pandita, those who have actually learned, the equipoised, advanced devotees who have full knowledge of everything, they do not see any living entity as an enemy or friend. Instead, with broader vision, they see that everyone is part of Krishna, as confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jiver Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. Every living entity being part of the Supreme Lord is meant to serve the Lord. Just as every part of the body is meant to serve the whole body. So as servants of the Supreme Lord, all living entities are one. But a Vaishnava, because of his natural humility, he addresses every other living entity as Prabhu. Prabhupada taught this in the beginning, right? Amongst the devotees.
I was Bob.
Yeah, so I was also. And so Prabhupada taught, and that's why, I mean, even in ISKCON, they still call ladies by the word Prabhu, which is meant to be called for males. So to us now, having associated in the Gaudiya Math, where they're called Didi and so forth, it sounds a little bit strange, but it means master, you see. So,
There's one take where Prabhupada said the wife should call the husband Prabhu, and the husband should call the wife Devi.
There you go. Devi. Devi means goddess. Yes, so natural humility. A Vaishnava sees other servants to be so advanced that he has much to learn from them. And thus he accepts all other devotees of the Lord as Prabhus, as masters. And although every one is a servant of the Lord, one Vaishnava servant, because of humility, sees another servant as his master. And understanding of the master begins from understanding of the spiritual master. Then he quotes, Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada, Yasya prasada nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benedictions of Krishna. And without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Then he quotes another verse from the Guruvastakam. Sakshad haritve na samasta shastra ruktas tata yada eva sadhavi kintu prabhuya priya eva tasya bande guru sri charana. You know the translation?
Is it the spiritual master knows all the revealed scriptures, something like that?
No. What's talked about here, Samasta Shastra, means that all the revealed scriptures are speaking about the spiritual master. And they are confirming one essential truth about Sri Guru, which is what? Sakshad Hari Tvena. What does that mean?
It's directly.
Directly. Sakshad means direct. Directly a manifestation of Krishna, of Hari. So, Sakshad Hari Tvena Samasta Shastra. Samasta Shastra means all of Vedic literatures. And not only that, Uruktastata bhavyata eva sadvi. And the same is also confirmed about the spiritual master by sadvi. Sadvi means all the great learned, pure devotees and Vaishnavas and saints. They also confirm. So 2 confirmations. From where?
Shastra.
Yes, Shastra and Sadhus are confirming that this is the true fact of the truth of Guru, Guru Tattva. Guru Tattva means Bhagavan. That he is direct manifestation of Bhagavan. It is only with this, Prabhupada points this out, it is only with this kind of conception of one's Guru that one's faith can properly develop. Has to place his faith as manifestation of Krishna coming to me. You see? So, and then Krikintu Prapuya Priya Eva Tasya. You know that line? It means, although, yes, is true, he is directly Hari, but Kintu means however, or but. The word Kintu. Although he is that, but Priya Eva Tasya.
He's also very dear.
Yes, Prabhu Ya Priya Eva Tasya. He is Priya to Prabhu, to the Supreme Lord. Very, very intimately dear to him. So, Sri Guru is not thinking, I am directly a manifestation of God. He's not thinking that way at all. But the truth is that that principle of Guru Tattva is manifested in him. And this can be recognized by the sincere disciples. Others may not recognize. For example, in Vedic culture, there is a certain maryada. Maryada, you know, certain etiquette, right? And so a person may be the greatest renowned guru, personality, truly, but his god brother doesn't necessarily see him through that vision. You know, he doesn't necessarily. Sometimes he may. Like Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. He would see Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, although he was senior to him coming to the mat, he would see him as Guru. Or Srila Prabhupada would see Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj as Siksha Guru. But yet their relationship is different. It's brother. And when there's a relationship of brother, Srila Sridhar Maharaj points out, there can be disagreement and quarreling. It's not an offense. Because there's love there, there's affection there. And that's their relationship. But if a disciple quarrels with Guru, bye-bye. You know, big problem.
Or the Guru Bhai.
Or the Guru what?
Guru Bhai. Or
The God brother.
Oh, I meant, yeah, their God brother. I meant the Guru's God brother.
Guru's God brother. Or to, yeah, that's also very, very big problem. And that's one of the problems that was created in our history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism in the West. That many of the leaders of the institution were still in the neophyte position, and then they offended the God brothers of their spiritual master. Prabhupada also writes about that in his own purports. Prabhupada has also chastised his disciples. On a morning walk, one disciple began to say about one of Prabhupada's God brothers, who's actually a very elevated personality, you know, that Prabhupada once became a little bit irritated with his God brother and called him some particular name. And then this disciple said, yes, and Prabhupada, you called him such and such. Don't speak. You cannot speak about my God brother. I can speak, not you. So this is called Maryada. I've been in the room with Srila Gurudev and his God brothers who were coming with us on parikrama. They had certain issues and they were quite upset with him. I've been in the room in Rup Sanatan where they come in and they're talking like really heavy, and I happen to be sitting there.
In English or?
No, not in English. But I could understand what they were saying. Not exactly all, but to some extent. And Gurudev was like, he was accepting it, he was tolerating it, and so forth, like this. So this is the thing. Maryada is very, very important. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharika Giridhari Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai. So for this point about the disciple being able to recognize Sri Guru as direct manifestation of Hari, this is the important consciousness that a disciple must develop. Otherwise, there cannot be a guru-disciple relationship. There must be some perception in the disciple, oh, you are Krishna coming to me in this way, you see. Munde Guru Sri Charanaravinda. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hari. So Prabhupada is explaining that the spiritual master, the servant of God, is engaged in the most confidential service of the Lord. Which is what? What's the most confidential service of the Lord? No. No. Namely, delivering all the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya, in which one thinks, this person is my enemy, this one is my friend. This is the most confidential service within this realm. Of course, everybody is saying, Nikunja Yuna Radikali Siddhai. That's not in this realm. Why? He's not guru there. He's guru here. He's acting as the most confidential servant of Hari. That's why it says, Kintu prapuya priya evatasya. Priya, very dear. Did Krishna himself say anything about that in the Bhagavad Gita? About what did Krishna say?
Those who preach to the devotees.
Yes.
Are very dear to him. Most dear to him.
Most. Never has there been one as dear to me as he, nor in the future shall there ever be one. Can you have a greater recommendation than from the Supreme Lord himself? Saying that he who preaches this message to my bhaktas is most dear to me. So that principle has to be understood, and we see it in every single one of our gurus. That they are honoring their guru, and their guru is so worthy because they are taking every pain to deliver the conditioned souls. That's our disciplic succession. Even if they're not directly contacting. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj explains this. Because they have different roles to play according to what Krishna wants them to do. Some may come in contact extensively with masses of people and preach. Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda Prabhu. But did the Goswamis, the 6 Goswamis, come very much in contact with the general masses of people? No. No. They were given the instruction by Mahaprabhu to live in Braj. Yes. To discover the lost places of Krishna's pastimes. To reveal deities from ancient times and establish them in temples. To reveal the eternal pastimes of the Lord. How did they do that? By doing bhajan, by wandering in Braj, by envisioning the pastimes here, there, everywhere, and then writing books. Like we sing every day in the song, Hari Harai Nama Krishna. Echai Gosai Jabe, Braje Koilovas. These 6 Goswamis, they went and took up Brajvas. Brajvas means to live in Braj. Braje Koilo Vas. And what did they do? Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash. They manifested the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna for all future generations of Vaishnavas. So, their position was the Shastra Gurus. They're the Shastra Gurus. They've written the Shastras. So, but Krishna has given this instruction for all time, as long as our universe is existing. This is the instruction by Krishna. One who preaches this message to my devotees, for him devotional service is guaranteed. That's what Krishna says. For him, pure bhakti is guaranteed, and in the end, he will come back to me. Never has there been a servant as dear to me as he, nor in the future shall there ever be one. So this is at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is declaring this fact. So actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the friend of all living entities. And all living entities are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. Oneness is possible through this understanding, not through artificially thinking that every one of us is God or equal to God. The true understanding is that God is the Supreme Master and that all of us are servants of the Supreme Lord and are therefore on the same platform. So somebody's coming out into the public, calling themselves Sadguru, and they don't even teach that the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Master, and we constitutionally are all eternal servants of Him, then what are they? What else? Yeah? Anything else? Yes. That's what they are. They're posing, coming out, Guru, Sadguru. And they don't even teach you who you are, that you're a servant of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and you're suffering because you stopped serving Him. Now you can revive your relationship by serving Him. That's Prahlad Maharaj's teachings. Direct to the greatest demon in the universe. Yes. This had already been taught to Prahlad Maharaj by his spiritual master, Narada. But Prahlad was nonetheless surprised by how a bewildered soul thinks that one person is his enemy and another his friend. See, we have to think about this. We, of course, have that conception, being conditioned souls. But Prahlad is not a conditioned soul. He's a pure devotee. And he doesn't have this discrimination. It's a foreign thing to him to think of persons in terms of friend and enemy, because they have no enemies. The pure devotees have no enemies. Ajata Shatru. That means his enemy was never born. Pure devotees are like that. So as long as one adheres to the philosophy of duality, thinking one person a friend and another an enemy, then he should be understood to be in the clutches of Maya. Why? Let's analyze this term. Clutches of Maya. I'm really getting basic. Clutches of Maya. We use these terms. Why the word clutch is used?
Krishna says in the Gita, I'm forgetting the verse, but he says that one who's influenced by the three modes, one who's influenced by lust is, they're forced, do you know the verse I'm talking about?
No.
According to the three modes.
Yeah, they're forced to,
Mm.
they can't not do anything at all. It's like,
Well,
you
they
know,
cannot be without action. They're forced to act.
yeah, they're forced.
Right. But what does the word clutches mean?
What? Bound?
What?
Bound?
How is the word clutch? To clutch something.
Bound.
What?
To grab tightly.
Yes, exactly. Clutch. To grab tightly. When a policeman arrests a criminal, do they treat him very gentle? Huh? No. No. They clutch him and handcuff him, put him in the car and drive him off to the jail. So the clutches of Maya is a very important term, because what is Maya Devi? Maya Devi is the police force. Yes? Maya Devi is enforcing the laws of the Supreme Lord in this material creation. That's her function. She casts an illusory spell over the conditioned souls, and that casting of the spell is placing them in what? Confinement. They're being confined. Every living entity is in jail. This is a big, huge prison house. Have we not have it referred to as that? Yes. Yeah. And the prison house is the place which has been created, the fortress, Durga, the fortress of Maya. So the conditioned souls are continually revolving in the cycle of birth and death, being completely captured by Maya. This has to be understood. If a devotee who is trying to approach acquiring transcendental knowledge, studying Bhagavad Gita and so forth, does not properly understand this principle, and how Maya is the servant of the Supreme. She's doing this as her given duty by Krishna, because Krishna is allowing the conditioned souls to do what? Those who want to forget him and turn away from him, he has made this arrangement through his illusory energy that, okay, you can forget me. Now become covered by avidya, by ignorance, forget your eternal spiritual identity, and now take on two coverings, gross and subtle coverings, and rotate in the cycle of birth and death for millions and billions of years and births and deaths. So as long as one adheres to the philosophy of duality, thinking one person a friend and another an enemy, he should be understood to be in the clutches of Maya. Want to say something?
So practically that happens because...
The microphone? Yeah.
When Maya allures the living entity, that's her illusory energy, then a lust develops to exploit her. And so the enemy becomes that person who tries to interrupt that lust, who seems to be in the way of that person's lusty plans or goals.
Right.
And so that's how the sense of enemy develops, is due to lust. Otherwise, why would somebody be an enemy except that person who tries to interrupt one's plans?
And that's why, as I quoted from the 16th chapter, how the demon is thinking, Krishna is telling, it's all about what I have and he's an obstacle in the way of my getting such and such. So that goes on every single level. Even in relationships within this world of so-called familial relationships, and, if some person's material enjoyment is obstructed, then what happens? They get angry and they break apart. So the marital relationships and so forth are based upon a mutual, what's the word? Like a dedication that we will live together, we will sacrifice, we will not separate, we will perform our duties, and Krishna will be in the center, like this. But in mundane relationships, we see that it's all based upon satisfaction of the senses, gross sense gratification, and especially in the mode of passion. And because of that, the relationships don't last. But when one becomes on a larger controlling scale, like we see certain individuals politically, they become very powerful and influential and so forth. But the demoniac tendency is still there. Whoever stands in my way, they will be eliminated. Yeah, so the Mayavadi philosopher who thinks that all living entities are God and are therefore one is also mistaken. No one is equal to God. The servant cannot be equal to the master. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, the master is one, and the servants are also one, but the distinction between the master and the servant must continue even in the liberated stage. So in the conditioned stage, we think that some living entities, some living beings are our friends, whereas others are enemies, and thus we are in duality. And in the liberated stage, however, the conception is that God is the master, and that all living entities, being servants of God, are one. So wouldn't that be beautiful? Because that's the nature of the spiritual world. The entire the other three quarters of the entire creation is the spiritual world. It's only here that people are forgetting that they're servants of the Supreme. But in the spiritual realm, in their own individual rasas, everyone has the conception of service to the Supreme Lord. And even in Braj, the highest domain, where they don't even have the conscious understanding that he's the Supreme Lord, but they still consider themselves servants. That was pointed out by Nanda Maharaj when Uddhava came, and he was remembering Krishna and thinking, all I want is that I will always eternally be a servant to Krishna. That's their fundamental understanding. It's the basis. All are serving Krishna, but in their particular rasa. Then in Vaikuntha, all are servants of Narayan in the rasa of dasya, servitude, right? So in this way, Prahlad Maharaj spoke to his teachers, and he said, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, then one becomes a pandit, and he does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. So the differences are created when one sees in duality. But when one sees everyone as servants of the Supreme, which is the truth, then there is not this consciousness of, oh, he's my friend, he's my enemy. So when Prahlad Maharaj's teachers and the demoniac father asked him how his intelligence has been polluted, so Prahlad Maharaj said, as far as I am concerned, my intelligence has not been polluted. Rather, by the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna. But under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another. So this mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. Now, I am rightly thinking that everyone is an eternal servant of God and that our duty is to serve the Supreme Master, for then we shall stand on the platform of oneness as servants. This paraphrasing Prabhupada's. So in this way, we're reading Prahlad Charitra and breaking it down and analyzing so that it will go deep into our intelligence and we'll understand Prahlad Maharaj's teachings. Gaur Premanandi. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Sri Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhu Srila Maharaj.